Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jerry Hunt, and I brought a story for you. I'd like to start out by explaining to you about the story. About 70 years ago, when I was in the Army, I learned and heard and loved this story. So I spent a lot of time studying it, and finally I got it, and I was showing it to my friends. They all liked it. So I continued on, and to this day I'm still doing it. So let me tell you about Pat and Mike. Pat and Mike are traveling salesmen. And this is Mike, this is Pat. And they were working for the same company. And the company was having a convention that weekend. So they set the guys up with one room, they shared a room, and the guys thought, well, okay, let's go a day early so we can relax and figure out what we're going to do. So they did. Well, it kind of backfired on them. They grew bored with each other's company. So Pat said to Mike, Mike, is there anybody in the hotel or in the city or any place that you might know of that would like to play a game of poker and break up the monotony? And he said, I don't know if you know this, Pat, but he said, I was born and raised in this city, and I knew everybody. And I'm sure there's a lot of them still here. So I think I'll go out and check it out. And he said, well, I think that's a great idea. So Mike gets up, and he goes out the door, down the stairs, out the hotel, and he starts his walk. And he walks 1 block, 2 blocks, 3 blocks, 4 blocks, 5 blocks, 6 blocks, 2 doors, and he's back at the hotel. He said, oh, that didn't take you very long. He said, no, and I found 4 guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. He said, well, that calls for a $2 tip. You did very well. He said, you mentioned that you knew women also. Maybe we could get 4 women, or it's more than that, and have a nice little party. And he said, oh, fine, I'll go look. He said, I'm sure I can find some. So he gets up. Try to cut these right. And he closes the door, goes down the stairs, walks out the hotel, and he starts his walk. And he walks 1 block, 2 blocks, 3 blocks, 4 blocks, 5 blocks, 6 blocks, 1 door, and he's back at the hotel. He said, did you find any women? And he said, yeah, as a matter of fact, I found 4 ladies. He says, well, that calls for a $2 tip. He said, now that we have the men and the women, he said, we probably ought to get some guys to concentrate on poker. And he said, I happen to know where there are 4 guys, and I'll go check it out. So he gets up, and he closes the door, walks down the stairs, out the hotel, and he starts his walk. And he walks 1 block, 2 blocks, 3 blocks, 4 blocks, back at the hotel, and he found 4 of the guys that he talked about. He says, well, that calls for a $2 tip. He said, now we got the men and the women. He said, I think we need some liquor to make this a real nice little party. And he said, I happen to pass a liquor store and I know where one is. So I'll run over there and see what I can get. So he gets up. And he closes the door, walks down the stairs, out the hotel, and he starts his walk. And he walks 1 block, 2 blocks, 3 blocks, 2 doors. He's back at the hotel. He says, did you find some liquor? And he says, yeah, I found some new kind. They call it the 4 aces. 1, 2, 3, 4. He says, well, that calls for a $2 tip. He said, now that we got the men and the women, and we're all having a nice little party, he said, we need some change. He said, well, I happened to get some change while I was at the liquor store. And so he said, I got 4 10s and 2 5s. So he says, wow, you really know this town well. He said, I told you I did. He said, where'd you find the men? I found them on 864th Street. Where did you find the women? 864th Street. Where did you live, Mike? He says, I lived on 77th Street. He says, you married? Yep. He says, I'm married, got 7 kids, 3 boys, 4 girls. Wow, you must be about 68. No, I'm only 35. He said, well, let's get down to playing poker. He said, I have 4 9s. 1, 2, 3, 4. And Mike said, sorry, buddy, but I have a straight flush. That's my story. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed giving it to you.